Greetings, friends. Now that it's the Christmas holidays, I've had some time to go over some of the screenshots I took of interactions, conversations, threads, which I had participated in, or at least read, which occurred on X or Twitter some months ago, earlier this year. This one will make a short video, but I thought it was a good one. I got into some thread where they were calling out the Bagel people. Elon Musk has allowed a situation where there are more so-called right-wing or conservative ideas, but I didn't used to see that sort of content where these people explicitly focus on that one group of people and calling them out. Now, of course, it's a nuanced topic, and I don't really I don't pick the Palestine side or the Israel side, but I don't want to get caught up in that whole discussion. I'm just saying it's funny that 2016, 2015, the left would call you a Nazi, and it was really a wacky thing. Like, to really be a Nazi back then, I mean, you couldn't really be a Nazi because you're not a member of that workers' party that existed in Germany in the mid 20th century. That's impossible. But in terms of absorbing the philosophy, if it was a unified philosophy, and some of the political prescriptions and some of the particular animosities and the particular beliefs of those people, in terms of absorbing that in the modern time, it would still be a very rare thing to find those people in 2014, 2015. They were out there, but not really in the mainstream. So the left using the word Nazi or certain other words, racist, white supremacist, these sorts of words, but specifically Nazi, that was still a very powerfully charged word as a slander, as a derogatory word. It still worked. Then it didn't really work anymore because it was overused for all of these years, and they would call anyone a Nazi that was to the right of Che Guevara. Anyone to the right of them, they would call a Nazi. So eventually that weakens because you're now painting 40% of society with any nationalist or populist sentiment under that brush. But the funny thing is, as so-called free speech rose on the internet in certain degrees, of course I don't argue for absolute free speech, but Elon Musk did allow more expression of conservative ideas not to be shut down, and leftists could be critiqued without silencing their critics in these spaces, which has driven many of them away. That did occur, that is a fact, and what do you know? Now it actually is a thing. Again, it's stupid to call them Nazis, but there are many accounts, many men who have taken to producing posts or content which are singularly, or at least generally weighted to draw attention to this. The bagels are the singular problem for the world. This is the singular weight of their messaging. So, should I call them Nazis? Not exactly, but the thing is, they actually mention H-Man a lot and speak favorably of what he was trying to do. So then it's like, well, you're not helping the case to not call you at least a modern Nazi, a neo-Nazi or something like that. But maybe that word's not appropriate. I'm just saying it's funny that we find ourselves in that situation now. After all of the years of the left abusing the term, many people, I don't want to say they were dumb enough to play into the left's game. Maybe that's not really fair, but we do find this sort of caricature coming up. And a lot of these people are caricatures. They're not always stupid, they have points, and I don't disagree with everything they have to say. But let's look at this post here, the center of what I wanted to talk about in this video. I forget what the original thread was. It looks like some guy was saying World War II summary for Americans, and maybe he was critiquing the boomer consensus. I'm not sure, but anyways, this guy, profile name of Z, he's responding to it, but it doesn't matter what the original post was. He says, America was being run by bagels and almost fully conquered by them. After World War II, America was fully conquered by bagels. Bagel's only goal is a global enslavement under Bagel reign. And so they use and they created communism. They used communism, they created communism in order to control countries. Now, I don't necessarily disagree with all of that. There's definitely a lot of truth there. I don't know if that's the whole picture, but... And then he says this leads to globalism as an end goal. Again, that's consistent. America is a mixture of both capitalism and communism, both Bagel creations of enslavement, under the illusion of freedom, who was used to bring the world into a prep state for global communism. That's not necessarily wrong. And America couldn't be fascist because that was the clear enemy, and they had to ally with communists in the Second World War, so they could never fully demonize communism. And it's always had the capitalist element there. It's good that they don't get caught up in the false dichotomy of communism versus capitalism. That's one thing I can give these people credit for, is they see past that false dichotomy. So he continues, they needed America to fall in line with this global communism project to get to this point in history. H-Man was the last person who tried to stop their plan, and to stop, he also tried to stop the eradication of the white race, along with this plan of the Bagels for global communism. So the Bagels' largest foe and biggest goal for thousands of years. The grammar in that is not so great, but he's saying that H-Man was the Bagels' largest enemy, obviously, and I guess he was thwarting their biggest goal that they had had for thousands of years. America fought for the bad guys because we are the bad guys and a conquered nation of slaves. That's a harsh wording at the end there. I mean, in some sense, I don't know. I see where he's coming from. I can't dismiss that. I can't say I fully agree with it either. That in itself, there's nothing that I could wholeheartedly go at him. I would just say there are more groups involved. This inevitably is going to lead to religion and what your worldview is, which is where I was kind of trying to take it, because I did try to engage with this guy. But just strictly from a practical geopolitical standpoint, I can't believe that it's only one tribe of people that is dominating the world. It may be particular families, it may be that one tribe has more dominance than other powerful elite groups in other societies. I just can't see that it's only one. And I can't excuse what happened in the West. You can't always say that it was purely the result of being dominated by another group, because there has to be internal corruption, spiritually, culturally, before a people is weakened enough that another tribe can come in there as a unified minority and dominate the majority. But anyways, I had to say to him, because he spoke of global enslavement plans by the Bagels. And so I said to him, in your view, why would it be wrong for the Bagels to enslave the world? And the reason I ask is that it seems that most Nazi sympathizers believe in Darwinist might makes right. Am I wrong? So what I'm saying is it wrong to assume that they mostly believe that power, like scientific prowess, martial ability and strength, passion, the ability to dominate nature, to make war, these are signifiers of a people's justness in expanding and conquering and being morally elevated? Might makes right, basically. Which is Darwinist, which comes from an evolutionary worldview. There's no ultimate God in this worldview. There's just evolution of stronger organisms spreading their genes and outcompeting other groups of organisms. Is that the worldview here? Z responded to me. He said, no one should enslave the world. That's insanity. Are you a bagel? Only a bagel would say that's acceptable. what a lot of these people do is when you counter signal them, in even the slightest, even though I wasn't really trying to counter signal him yet, I wasn't even trying to take him on yet, I was asking a fair question about his worldview, immediately they jump to, well, you're an enemy. You're one of them. You're one of our enemies. Right away. Where's the critical thinking here? Where's the ability to answer a question fairly? If these people are talking of good and bad, making moral claims like he is, like enslavement is a bad thing, you just take that for granted. Well, do you just take it for granted? Justify it. If you're not a Christian, if you have a different religion, if you have a different worldview and a different moral system, then we can't just automatically grant you good and bad, right and wrong, or even truth. I said to him, I don't think you understand. It's an internal critique. I'm a Christian, so that's how I can say it's evil. Most of you guys seem to have a worldview which is based on will to power. If that's the case, then how do you get to call out the Bagels? The Bagels just use their will to power to win, and seems like they won out over you in your own worldview, in your own system. Shouldn't you be celebrating them? I don't know if he gets it. So Z responds to me, and he's clearly getting a little pissed off here. He says, no, I understand clearly. I think it's you who doesn't understand and are trying to put me into a box that is short-circuiting your feeble mind. You know nothing of my worldview, and you guys is very vague. Yeah, well, I mean, I was trying to be charitable and give him a chance to explain. I was saying, like, look, I've encountered people with your worldview that tend to hold these assumptions. I said, am I wrong? Like, I'm giving him a chance to clarify. I wanted to know. I wanted to know about your worldview. I was giving you a chance to clarify. And he continued that, I can assume what you mean, though. I stick to truth. That's it. Bagels have subverted and destroyed humanity since its birth using the most evil tactics known to man. So again, he's mentioning truth. Well, you don't just get truth. Like for Christians, truth is ultimately anchored in the person of Christ, the Logos. It's not merely an abstract term. They've destroyed humanity since, yeah, but again, do you believe humanity is just animals or not? I mean, is humanity a divine creation by some God? If not the Christian God, well then which God is it? And then he says, destroying humanity since its birth using the most evil tactics known to man. He's using the word evil, so he's implying good and evil, a moral system. Well, I would like to know, what is that based on, that you get to talk about evil? I'm not asking for even a whole paragraph. It could just be one or two sentences, like, this is my worldview, it's founded on this God or this tradition. Give us the rough sketch, that's all. If you think that's power, there's nothing left to say, he says. Well, I mean, I don't know. They did win out over you. They've got more money than you, they've got more political power than you, they've got more ideological power than you. So from evolutionary terms, they seem to have won out, at least for now, but I don't subscribe to evolutionary presuppositions. Then he's telling me that I am indeed no Christian for multiple reasons. No Christian would ever think this way or side with its complete opposition. Well, that's a grand claim to make. I don't know what he's basing that on. Plus, he says I'm a homosexual and that's forbidden. So I don't know where he's getting that. I don't know why he felt the need to start bringing that stuff up. I have no idea. Why are you just trying to attack someone? Why can't you just answer a question like a man? These people project a lot of stuff. And I just said, well, I was asking you to tell me what your worldview is. I don't see why you have to get all emotional about it. Because you have this worldview of enslavement and evil in this particular tribe. Then someone asks you, well, how do you really ground claims about good and evil? And then you freak out at them? Yeah, so I gave him a chance, and then he just says, hey effing retard, go somewhere else with your ignorance, please. And then he blocked me. And it wasn't even a long exchange. It was just literally like 2 or 3 responses back and forth, and he'd had enough. He was short-circuiting. They'll focus on that tribe, but then they don't have any good reason to explain why it's bad, what that tribe is doing. Many of them, as far as I've seen, they think Christianity itself is a mechanism or a product of the current tribe of bagels, the way they see it. That's not, the current tribe of bagels is very different than what existed 2,000 years ago, but either way, that's more complicated, and that's really not true on its face. But that's how they see it. So they basically reject Christ, many of them. They're not all like Adam Green, but many of them might take that view, where this is all just bagel, it needs to be rejected. But then we ask them, well, what is your claims of good and evil founded on? They don't even think the question's justified. They think it can just be granted to them. No, it can't be granted to them. Hasta luego, amigos.